Hey guys, so I just finished binge watching Game of Thrones. I had never watched it before. I just started watching it 2, 3 weeks ago. And yeah, I just finished it this morning. And one of the things that is bugging me, among about a million things, is Rose Leslie and Kit Harington's relationship. Now, when their characters were uh dating or in a relationship on the show earlier on in the early seasons of the show, I just felt this strong dislike of Rose Leslie's character. I strongly disapproved of the relationship. I couldn't wait for it to end. I was sure Jon Snow would get a better woman. I was sure he deserved a better woman. And I was hoping that she was just sort of breaking him in and preparing him for future conquests in the bedroom, if that makes any sense. But future romantic conquests, not just the lustful ones we saw so much of in the earlier seasons in the brothels, in Littlefinger's brothels. So I felt this strong. I was so bored and irritated by her. I really did not like her. And so later in season 8, I was very careful with my Googling when I was watching the show because I didn't want to come upon any spoilers accidentally. But when I got to around season 8, I was less worried about it and less worried about spoilers. And I Google Kit Harington, and I find out he's married to Rose Leslie. And it just bothered the hell out of me because I was so disapproving of their on screen romance. Never in a million years did I think that they would actually be together in real life. Not only that, married, not only that, they met on the show and they were together for 5 years and then they got married. And I was like, oh my God, it really, really got to me. And I've been doing some reflecting on it. And I've realized that I went to an international school. I went to an international all girls boarding school. And I had just come from my country. I was just 10 years old, had never set foot in Europe before that. So there was a lot, everything was just sort of new to me in terms of like that culture shock. And, it's an international school, it's a boarding school. I'm living with these girls and interacting with them intimately because, I'm living with them. And it was a whole community. Boarding school was a whole community. And there was I was getting all this sort of messages of what it means to be beautiful. And I was seeing that with the black female students, the beautiful ones were light skinned. Then we had a lot of very pretty girls from the Middle East, very pretty Arabic girls. We had very pretty Spanish girls. We had very pretty Mexican girls. These nationalities really stood out in terms of beauty. And so when I would meet these girls I realized I met these girls in my class or in older classes who look like Rose Leslie. And I realized this is why I had such a strong dislike of her. It was my inner child reacting to her because she looked very familiar. She looked like somebody I knew. And I've remembered that there was a girl in my class and another girl in a few classes above me. They had that pale freckled skin. Uh, One of them actually had red hair, just like Rose Leslie. The other one didn't. The other one was had brown hair, but same pale skin, same freckles, very thin lips. And I remember in my little in my very young impressionable mind, because I was in this new culture and new world on my own, without my family, without my parents, without anybody to help me navigate it. I was just literally put on a plane from my country when I was 10 years old, and put in this boarding school in Europe. I'd never been in Europe before. And so the only way to process all this information, these different cultures, was to organize them in my mind in a very superficial way and say, okay, this is a beautiful girl, this is an ugly girl. So these girls who look like Rose Leslie, the pale skinned, freckled, red haired girls, thin lips, were very much at odds with the sort of curvaceous, beautiful Mediterranean and Middle Eastern girls. Very, very much at odds. And they were like ugly. Because when I compared them to these Middle Eastern girls and these Spanish girls and these Mexican girls, they looked like they were lacking something. They did not fit into that definition of beauty. And so I judged them against the standard of beauty, and they failed miserably. So, but they were still loved. I remember they were very likable, both of them. They had this very likable personality, and they were people persons, and they were people, if that's even a word. And everyone was sort of drawn to them, drawn to their energy, and they were just very social and very friendly. So people adored them. And in my mind, I didn't understand, because in my mind, I somehow mixed up beauty with being liked and being adored in my mind. So I just could never understand it as a child. How could this person who has failed my litmus test for beauty, who has failed it so miserably, how could they be liked this much? How could they be appreciated this much? And it just, I used to feel almost even repulsed by them, which is unfortunate. But again, like I said, 10-year-old me, lots happening around me, had to make sense of it somehow. So I realized when I saw Rose Leslie, immediately, I think my inner child recognized those girls, those two girls from my school, and how I evaluated them as not deserving of the attention and the friendships and the love they were getting, because of their physical appearance, which I had, misjudged. So this inner child, people talk about the inner child and they sound like they're loony. They sound like they're, leave that to the shrinks. What are you talking about? But this inner child thing is a very real thing. It's a very real thing, and she or he exists within you. And of course, there's a lot of people who have managed to sort of silence their inner child for the most part. But with me, it's she does tend to make an appearance. She does tend to come out, and when she does it in a very strong way. And yeah, but anyway, I'm glad that I've had a chance to sort of reflect about this, because it was really, really bothering me. And I felt very helpless and very like, which is insane. I cannot control who Kit Harington dates. He does not need my blessing. He does not know I exist. But I really did not. I really reacted strongly to their on-screen relationship. And then just to find out later, especially after having fallen in love with, the idea of Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke's relationship, for a while, for as long as it lasted, being like, yeah, this is so much better than that wilding chick, and then finding out that actually he married that wilding chick was just bothering the F out of me. But I've done some reflection, and I hope at least my inner child, I hope both me and my inner child can sort of try to make peace with it and try to understand it and try to get some closure from it. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section.